Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 74. Fredo Esparza here solo. Later on in the show, Kurt will be joining us as he wanted to talk about the Torneo Increibles final from I guess now it's a couple of weeks ago, featuring Volador Jr. and Barbaro Carbonario versus Ultimo Guerrero and Valiente. Kurt really enjoyed that match, so he wanted to talk about it. We actually recorded his part while we were doing the right after we did the Lucha Classica episode, since we're going to have a couple of busy weekends coming up, which we'll talk about in a bit. Before I get to the news, be sure to visit our sponsors, Designed by Humans and Amazon.com. If you haven't done so and are interested in signing up to the Lucha Classica podcast, it's available at luchaworld.podbean.com. Subscription price is $2.95 per month. It's the service is the subscription service is through Stripe, which handles all the credit card and debit card processing. It doesn't accept PayPal for those who were asking. First episode that is part of the subscription service is the Lucha Classica episode 4, Villano 3 versus Atlantis, covering that feud from I think mid-1999 to March 2000. And I think we talked a little bit more about the post-feud situation where Villano 3 continued. And I mean, he became a popular technical for a bit. And but the entire feud was really fun. I highly recommend everybody listen to that show. We talked about not only the match, but all the angles that led up to it. From Atlantis swimming with dolphins, Villano 3 taking Super Astro's mask, winning the light heavyweight title from Atlantis, some bloody matches, the Villanos getting involved, Villano 4 and Atlantis having a title match 1 month prior to their mask match, where there was a little bit of interference by the other Villanos, very controversial match that would later be an issue, I think about 6-7 years later with one the other I think Villano 5 versus Blue Panther, where a lot of people kind of suggested that there was that the wrong Villano won the match, more or less. It was controversial, although I think that wasn't fixed. That didn't have that issue. I think it was more of fans just assuming that happened since the Villanos had done that in tag matches, trios matches, and all that. You could visit us at luchaworld.com. Follow Kurt on Twitter at Vandal Drummond. You can follow me on Twitter as at The Real Fredo or at LuchaWorld. That's probably the easiest way to contact us. Well, for me, you could contact me via email. Kurt is a little bit more. If you think I'm bad at answering email, he's even worse than I am. So, if you want to give it a shot, go ahead. His email is liger@aol.com. My email is luchaworld@gmail.com. Like I said, later on, we'll have Kurt talking about the Torneo Increibles final. So let's get to the news, as not a lot's gone on. Last show, we previewed Dos Leyendas and Rey de Reyes. So by the time you probably listen to this show, that show's already, both those shows are probably coming to an end or something's, I think I was going to wait until after Dos Leyendas actually was posted online by CMLL on VOD, but they mentioned they would do it right after the show, immediately after the show. But the last time they did that, I think it took about 2-3 days later, so I'm not going to be worried about it. And like I said, we're going to be busy the next couple of weeks, weekends. We're going to try to go to the Promociones Cholo de Tijuana show in Los Angeles this weekend. I already contacted Cholo about doing some interviews. I contacted him just because I didn't want to just go there and bug guys about doing interviews. We had a pretty weird experience with Johnny Mundo a couple of months ago, so I'd rather just do it directly with ask the promoter, let him know we're going to be there. If not, I think Trauma 2 will definitely, if he's there, he'll definitely talk to us. But they're going to have Dr. Cerebro, Mano Negra, couple of other people that we're interested in talking to. 2 weeks later, We are going to go on a road trip. This is very highly anticipated by both of us. Nero Casas Felino and Zacarias El Perico are going to be in Oxnard at I think it's the Miramar restaurant in Oxnard, California. If you have, it's next, I think it's March 26th. If you have that day available, I recommend going to that. I mean, how often are you going to get a chance to see those three in the California area? Definitely not Zacharias. I mean, Nero Casas, last time he was here was, I think, 3 years ago. Felino's here this weekend, so you could probably, this weekend, I think this weekend or the following weekend. He's here, I think, this weekend also. So he's here for 2 weekends. So he's more likely to be seen here. I already contacted them via Dallas. She confirmed they would be here, and I already asked if I could interview them. I think Nero Casas is cool with that. I want to interview all three of them, so hopefully I'll probably contact the promoter too, just in case, because you know how that works. You know, you ask the wrestlers, then the promoters get involved, and also I don't want to make the promoters feel like they're less involved. I think it makes them feel better that or it's courteous to ask them as well. The big news this past week: Lucha Underground finally on Netflix. This has been, I mean, I think everybody's been talking about this for the last year and a half. They finally were posted on the Netflix streaming service March 15th. First 2 seasons. If you haven't watched Lucha Underground, I recommend watching these 2 seasons. Plus, it's binge. You could watch binge. It's a binge-worthy type of show. So, I mean, you could probably watch 4 or 5 episodes in a row and be perfectly cool watching this show. I mean, you could probably watch it the entire weekend and really enjoy the show. There's a lot of, I think the first couple episodes, I think the first 2-3 episodes, not as strong, but it keeps building up. And then there's, I mean, season 1 from I think the 3rd or 4th episode, a lot of strong shows. I think somewhere towards the end there's a couple of shaky episodes, but it ends very strongly. Season 2 is also really good. Season 3 is the one that I think everybody's kind of having a hard time with, but hope that should start at some point, and hopefully it should be good. Other news from AAA: Vampiro was named head of talent relations for Lucha Libre and FMV. That's basically the parent company handling AAA and Lucha Underground. So he's basically overseeing talent for not just AAA now, but also for Lucha Underground. He's doing such a wonderful job that most of Lucha Underground's talent is working the Crash shows. So I'm really not sure what the hell that means, because it kind of feels like Conan's still getting those guys to appear on the Crash. It's a weird, funny situation. Speaking of the Crash, that's really the big news. That's really the biggest news this week. The Crash recently announced that they had formed alliances with Pro Wrestling Noah and Impact Wrestling. We've already seen a lot of the Impact talent appear on the Crash. Past Impact talent, now that Matt and Jeff Hardy actually won the Crash titles, but now they're not in Impact. So now who knows what's going to happen with the Crash titles? Although the Crash can always do what Impact did, where they basically they had a skit of the Hardys, and then like as the Hardys were going to go teleport themselves somewhere, they basically had another tag team end up somehow teleporting their way into the title, the tag team titles. Very interesting. That was probably the best part of that episode I watched of Impact. So maybe Crash can do that. Or if not, they could just vacate the titles and have some other team win it. Really, who cares about that? But the Crash has 2 huge shows. I think a lot of people were asking me when Noah was going to basically... when we'd see the impact of Noah. Basically, Noah is going through Hayashi, the guy that previously worked for AAA as a liaison for the Japan promotions. He was basically the middleman for Noah dealing with AAA. Now that he's left AAA, he's now joined the Crash, and he's now the liaison between the Crash and Pro Wrestling Noah. The Crash announced their upcoming 2 lineups: their March 25th lineup in Tijuana and their April 5th lineup in Mexico City. The March 25th lineup is loaded, but the the one in Mexico City is even like, I think they kind of just went and said, hey, let's just add even more talent to this card. It is like, it's like an all-star event. I think this was more their way of like trying to just eliminate AAA from that area for obviously Conan and all them. It's competition, that's what they're trying to do. I don't think if they're thinking it's towards CMLL, I don't think CMLL even cares. They probably don't even know that the Crash is running a show there. They'll probably find out as the show is happening on that Wednesday. They're running Wednesday too in Mexico City, which is something that I think only Elite has done as far as major promotions in that area. March 25th in Tijuana, the opener is Mirage, Oráculo versus Black Danger and Último Maldito. The second match is Mascarita Dorada versus Septimo Dragon. That should be good. Septimo Dragon was really impressive in his match with Flamita. Mascarita Dorada is great. I mean, I think Mascarita Dorada can work with anyone and look good. It's just a matter of the opponent willing to work with him. The third match features a debut in the Crash. Flip Gordon teaming up with Mr. 450. They go against Arcangel Divino and Black Boy. I think this might be Arcangel Divino's first match without his brother involved. So that should be an interesting situation for him. The fourth match is Bestia 666, Extreme Tiger, Laredo Kid versus Desmond Xavier, or I'm sure he'll be called Desmond Javier in Tijuana. Famous B and Shane Strickland. That should be a good trios match. The fifth match is Garza Jr. and Sammy Callahan versus Black Taru and Bobby Lashley. That should be interesting. Black Taurus is really talented. I don't know if this is really the right matchup for him because I kind of think he'd be better. I mean, he might help make Garza Jr. look good in this, but I'm so used to seeing Black Taurus with better high flyers than these guys. Should be a good match though. The main event is really what's gonna get the crowd, get people to go to that show. It's the debut of the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson versus Daga and Rey Mysterio. That should be an amazing match. The Young Bucks, as Conan said, are great. Not just Conan. I mean, Conan said more about them, but I don't think I should repeat what he said about them. Some of the jokes they like to play about between themselves on his podcast. That should be great. This is really a good chance for Daga to really shine. He's really the one out of all these guys in this match that has a lot to prove. Because he's really talented, but he's not at the level of these guys. If he's able to show that he can work at this level, I think this is going to open a lot of doors for him. Although I think this deal with Noah is going to be something that'll help. The one thing I worry about with Daga is that I'm still not sure if he's still part of Lucha Underground. I think everybody's still wondering because I think he only made there was one minor appearance of him in the season 3. One of the videos or something showed him holding a sword or something. So he might still be in Lucha Underground. Otherwise, he'd be perfect for Noah right now. The April 5th Crash show in Mexico City. This is I think this is going to be the most expensive card they've had that they've run. I would assume this is going to be really expensive. The opener is Arcangel Divino, Black Boy, and Zumbi versus Black Danger, Último Maldito, and making the Crash debut. Now, those of you who haven't been following AAA's La Llave a la Gloria tryouts, they had a tryouts a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys who advanced to the next round and looked very impressive doing it was the guy who actually wrestles on indie shows. Most notably, you might have seen him in Lucha Memes, and now he's actually going to debut for the Crash ASTROLUX. So that's kind of the most amazing, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where you just know Conan saw that La Llave La Gloria thing. Conan and whoever else from the Crash saw that, who's pissed at AAA. They probably saw that and they said, "Hey, what would be a good way to like fuck over AAA? Let's have ASTROLUX debut on the Crash." I don't know if this is gonna hurt ASTROLUX's chances in La Llave La Gloria. If I was him, I think I'd probably go with the Crash. I think that's the hot promotion right now. And I think he's going to get better matchups early on than he would waiting to like even make it to AAA. The second match is a women's match for the Crash women's title. Sexy Dulce, who I think is going to be boxing around that time also. So I have no idea how she's going to... I mean, if she's not hurt, she might have to vacate the title. She might show up just to vacate the title. Well, she's in this match. Sexy Dulce versus Kira versus Santana Garrett from Impact versus Lady Maravilla, Candy White, Laurel Van Ness. I think I only know of Sexy Dulce, Kira, Santana Garrett, and Lady Maravilla. I've never seen Candy White or Laurel Van Ness. Santana Garrett, I've seen at Stardom shows. We saw her at the Stardom show in Los Angeles. I thought she was okay. She's attractive. I mean, I will give her that, but I don't know if she's that great in the ring. The third match is a match to determine the number one contender to the Crash Cruiserweight title currently held by Flamita. It is Ray Horace versus Laredo Kid versus Mr. 450 versus Septimo Dragon versus Ultimo Ninja versus DJZ. And that match should be amazing. I don't know why. I don't know what the Crash is waiting for, but they need to figure out how to make this an iPay-per-view at some... I mean, they got to do some... They got to get moving on that shit, because these lucha promotions are really weird about this stuff. I mean, they could make some money off of these things, and they could make money off of us Americans. I know a lot of these guys, like, they hear from the Mexican fans, and Mexican fans complain about how expensive VODs or iPay-per-views are. But I mean, that's not their audience for this. Their audience for these iPay-per-views and VODs are coming from outside of Mexico. That's where they're going to make money. They really should do it. I mean, they should do what CMLL is going to do with a next day type of VOD. Because this match is made to get people to pay to watch this iPay-per-view, to watch this show on iPay-per-view. The fourth match is another really great looking match. Jack Evans, Mascarita Dorada, Willie Mack versus ACH, Bestia 666, and Black Taro. I should mention that there's a couple people who film shows. So, although the bad thing is the one guy who films in great quality handhelds is in Tijuana. I don't know if that guy would go to Mexico City to film this show. I'm hoping someone like tells him he should go. If not him, maybe someone else will do it. Back to the lineup. The fifth match, Daga versus Sami Callihan versus AR Fox versus Extreme Tiger. Another great looking match. The sixth match has Blue Demon teaming up with Brian Cage and Garza Jr. versus Bobby Lashley, Carlito, and Jeff Cobb. That might be the weakest. That might be the second weakest match on the card, but still, it's a star-studded lineup. It's funny how Jeff Cobb's probably getting more bookings through the Crash than he ever did through AAA, which, and he likes Mexico. Seventh match, the main event, is Penta El Cero M, Rey Mysterio, and Rey Fenix listed as the King. So there's another name change for him. I think he's going with the King in Mexico because of the whole name registration issue over there. They are going up against Cody Rhodes, Matt Sydal, and making the Crash debut, another guy making his Crash debut from Pro Wrestling Noah, Katsuhiko Nakajima. I mean, Nakajima versus Penta El Cero M or Rey Fenix would be freaking amazing. So that is the Crash show in Mexico City. Loaded lineup. Like I said, I hope these guys I hope somebody from the Crash realizes that they should probably make this show available online at some point. I'm not sure if I'm sure they've gotten offers from people, but for some reason, Mexican promotions, Lucha Memes, all these promotions, like they have some good cards. The Crash, they have some good shows, but they don't really go out of their way to do anything to put them up on iPay-per-views or on VOD. The other thing from that has a little bit of involvement with AAA is Miguel Fonseca and Oscar Garcia, who were recently fired from AAA, have now taken roles with the Full promotion, which is run by Tinieblas Jr. I think Miguel Fonseca is doing handling press for Full, and Oscar Garcia, I'm not sure. I'm guessing he's doing the same thing that he did with AAA. He's a good jack of all trades type of guy, so I think that's going to help Full. Although Full, that's another promotion that's got to figure out how to like get themselves a little more recognition. Although they do draw a lot of fans to their shows, so you know they're doing it. They're doing something. More news from Mexico, actually from Orlando. Actually, some news from Orlando. There was a lucha show that was going to have Sam Adonis, Ultimo Guerrero, Mystico, and Stuka Jr. Sam Adonis announced that none of the CML talent would be heading to Orlando for that show. He didn't mention that the show was canceled. I'm guessing it might have been canceled just because there were so many wrestling shows happening that weekend, WrestleMania weekend. So I would assume that's been canceled. I heard it had a low ticket turnout, so that might be the reason those guys aren't going to be there. Other Orlando news: Chik Tormenta actually got a WWE tryout. I don't think it is I think it is in Orlando, the Performance Center, the WWE Performance Center. I don't know. Chik Tormenta, who, I mean, you could I think she's one of those. She's more known. I've seen her lately more listed on shows in Texas, and then like some smaller lucha shows throughout Mexico. But I think she's basically the last 2-3 years she's probably been more mentioned in wrestling, like in Martinez Entertainment in Texas and in other places. So she's been pretty much like positioning herself to move on to WWE or get a shot there. I think WWE is doing a women's tournament similar to the Cruiserweight Classic. I wouldn't be shocked if her or Zeuxis or both end up in that tournament. I would imagine that the situation, if Zeuxis left, it'd be similar to what happened with Máscara Dorada, now Grand Metallic, where they do the tournament. Maybe she joins, maybe she signs a contract and leaves. If they're not if it doesn't go as well, maybe they don't add her to it. Chik Tormenta I think she probably has I think both of them would have a good shot, just because I think Zeuxis has also been traveling, I think going more to Puerto Rico than anything else. So that should be something to keep an eye out. I mean, also the Stardom women are starting to show up and doing. I think a couple of them already. I think Kari Hojo already agreed to a contract. One's retiring, and Io Shirai was at that same tryout. More news: SuperLuchas is the latest to join into the Lucha Libre podcasting. They are doing their own podcast. It debuted, I think, early Thursday, and their first guest was Super Crazy. They basically just had Super Crazy for the entire hour. He talked about his time in the ECW, starting in wrestling in Japan for all the various promotions he worked in Japan, wrestling in WWE as part of the Mexicools with Juventud Guerrera and Nicho El Millonario. He also was talking about wanting to return to the WWE, and that was the reason why he wasn't going to sign a contract with any promotion. He said he had offers from CMLL and from AAA, but he doesn't. And he also said that the Marty Elias from Lucha Underground, the referee, had actually also asked him if he'd be interested in going to Lucha Underground. He doesn't want to sign any contracts. He's hoping to return to WWE. He's talked to Tajiri about like forming a tag team, possibly like in the NXT or 205 Live. He has been watching 205 Live, and he gave his thoughts on 205 Live, and he said it wasn't very good. He said it felt like Vince didn't really show any interest in it, so it didn't have the same feel to it that the other shows, the other WWE shows have. He buried it a bit just because he mentioned how a lot of the guys on 205 Live he has seen on indie shows or in Japan or in Mexico. And he said these guys all wrestle so much better outside of WWE, and that on 205 Live, they look very limited. And he thought that maybe they needed to work on that and improve it because it doesn't feel like a cruiserweight show. He brought up that they asked him if he would recommend any of his family members to join WWE. I think he mentioned Rocky Lobo and Lancelot, and he said that he would, but he would hope that they would be a little older, like once they reach like 23 or older. I think Rocky Lobo's probably still 19, 20 years old. Lancelot about the same. He also said that he wanted them to add a little weight. They asked him what other wrestlers from Mexico or what other wrestlers overall he would recommend, and he talked about how there's so much talent, cruiserweight talent right now, smaller wrestlers, and how 205 Live could really have a lot of talent just because there's so much of that available right now. And he said that the one guy he did mention that he would recommend would be Dragon Lee, that if he left, he would want to take him with him to WWE. But then he brought up that he and Dragon Lee don't get along. So I don't know why he would want to take him with him. Although he did say he really praised him and said how great he was, but he wasn't very, he just said that they didn't get along. He also talked about, when he was talking about the Mexicals, he mentioned that Stephanie McMahon came up with the name. And he said it wasn't Juventud Guerrera, despite Juventud Guerrera saying that he was the one that did it, that came up with the name. He still had a little bit of, I think Super Crazy did an interview with Mas Lucha a couple of, somewhere around the time he made his first appearance with the Crash, or when the Mexicals first teamed up in the Crash. And he brought up how, they basically talked about their time in WWE, because Super Crazy had talked about how they had a rather bitter breakup in that Juventud Guerrera and Nicho kind of, they didn't take advantage of the opportunity, and they didn't really handle it well. So basically Juventud Guerrera got fired early, and then Nicho got fired after, and Super Crazy kind of felt that they kind of cost him his job at that time with WWE. So he said he basically brought that up again. The other interview he had done, he had said that they had settled it, and they've moved on from that. But he just wanted to clarify the reasons for that group's breakup in WWE. More other news. Probably the biggest news, and I think this is something that I'm hoping I could talk about with Mano Negra this weekend. If I don't get to talk to Mano Negra, I will be rather disappointed, just because there was an article that the Cubs fan pointed out on his website, luchablog.com, where they had an article where Sanelli was talking about her diet on how to stay fit to be a luchadora, and she talked about her past, about her she actually completed her education and actually had a job. She actually had a real job before pro wrestling. They revealed that her age is actually 35 years old, which I think everybody was surprised, because I think the way she looks physically, we thought she was like in her early, the way she looked physically and the way she just came out of, like, I think everybody's accustomed to, wrestlers coming in being younger. We were surprised that to find out she was actually 35 years old. I will ask, I don't know if I don't think I'll ask Mano Negra about his daughter's age, but I'm just curious to know more about his thoughts on because she basically brought up that he wanted her to complete her education before she made her decision on becoming a luchadora, because I guess she wanted to do it at a young age, but he told her she had to complete her education. So I think it went well. I mean, I think it's a harder life to be a luchadora. And I mean, even a pro wrestler or a luchador, Volador Jr. has brought that up, how he thinks there's a lot of, he was telling us when I was asking him if he thought if he would recommend his son, when his son was old enough, would he like him to be a pro wrestler? And he kind of mentioned that he probably wouldn't unless he had the same work ethic that he does. Because basically, for those who don't know, Volador Jr. actually dropped out of school at a very young age to follow his his a career in lucha libre. His dad wasn't happy about it, but his dad basically told him that he had if he was going to make it a career, he had to work hard. And if you've heard stories about Volador Jr., he's very crazy. He trains a lot, and he does a lot of work, and that's the reason you always see him like he's one of those guys who doesn't take a day off really. So I think that kind of just tells you how you really have to have an incredible work ethic, and I'm guessing that's how it is with everybody that's made it as a superstar in pro wrestling. They have to have a certain work ethic to move up the card, or if you're a good kiss ass, it's also a good way to get to make a career in pro wrestling. Other news from CMLL. This is Ephesto was announced late Thursday actually, as being off Dos Leyendas. He actually suffered some sort of blood poisoning and had to be taken to the hospital on Wednesday. They said they had to do surgery on him. It's possible. I think the blood poisoning he had is some sort of condition where if it goes to a like an organ or something, that then I think it required some sort of surgery. I don't really know. You don't normally have that. Normally it's medication or antibiotics where you go to the hospital for that reason. But he had to. They had to do surgery on him. They've already announced that he's going to be out about a month due to the surgery. They also announced Apolo Valdez from Medio Tiempo reported that Hechicero would be replacing him in the Dos Leyendas match. So I think it kind of improved. Hechicero basically has already teamed up with various forms of the Hijos del Infierno. He's teamed up with Luciferno, Ephesto, and Ephesto in the past. So I think he's basically the fourth member. Although CML is so stubborn that they decided to go with Luciferno instead of him when it was pretty obvious that they should have gone with Hechicero. I think that match, I don't think you lose that much from going from, it actually improves going from Ephesto to Hechicero. So before I start talking about a bunch of matches, just wanted to mention the March 10th Friday CMLL show, which is basically the go home show before the go home Friday show before the Dos Leyendas show this coming Friday, which I think at the moment everybody's kind of like not really as interested in that card. I think more people are interested in the Crash lineup from April 5th than really the Dos Leyendas or AAA Rey de Reyes shows. It's not that they're all like the worst shows ever, just like the Dos Leyendas main event mask match is probably my least interesting, probably the least interesting thing to me that has happened in the last couple of years in Lucha Libre. I don't really care. Dragon Rojo Jr. and CML Informa was asked who he would pick to win the mask match, and he basically said he didn't care because he didn't like either guy. So he hoped they both lost their mask. And I probably would not only hope that they would lose their mask, but they would leave, have Diamante Azul move to France, have Pierrot go wherever the fuck he's from and never come back. But this past Friday show was pretty good. Other than the main event wasn't that great. I thought they did a pretty good job to build up what's going to happen with Diamante Azul and Pierrot. They beat down Diamante Azul, and they even used a tray of potato chips to beat him up to like humiliate Diamante Azul. I'm guessing Diamante Azul's definitely going to end up winning the mask match. If he doesn't, I don't know what they want to keep him for. He doesn't seem like he'd be that he's not that interesting in interviews. The guy has done so many interviews. He did an interview with Mas Lucha. He did several interviews with Informa. A couple of other places he's done interviews. It's like, my God, how many interviews can you hear one Diamante Azul interview, you heard them all. They had a couple of injuries. Forastero got hurt. Bobby Villa got hurt. I guess somebody mentioned Nero Casas was briefly shook towards the end of his match. The opener had Sagrado and Misterioso beating Fuego and Soberano Jr. Misterioso Jr. Removed Soberano Jr.'s mask and wore it at the end. Actually, what's funny, Sagrado put Misterioso Jr. on his shoulders to celebrate the win, which was silly because it was the opening match. Uh, I think they're building up to some sort of cage match because they've been doing a lot of mask match challenges between undercard guys, Misterioso and Soberano Jr., Ripper and Blue Panther Jr., Guerrero Maya Jr. and Dragon Rojo Jr. Angel de Oro's been thrown in there. Rey Bucanero was in there at some point. So there's something. I think there's something to that. The second match had Sanson, Cuatrero, and Forastero beat Guerrero Maya Jr., Esfinge, and Drone. This was a pretty good match. I actually thought it was the second best match on the card. Cuatrero looked amazing. I mean, I think it's starting to look like this guy should be. They should start building him up as a potential challenger to Maximo Sexy for the heavyweight title because he's really that good. Sanson is really good too, but I think he's a little bit. He looks a little trimmer than Cuatrero. Forastero botched the spot of running up the ramp to jump over, to springboard off the ropes. He ended up getting caught in the ropes and tripping. That's happened to Mystico and Marco Corleone and a couple of other people. So I mean, the good thing is he wasn't hurt and came back. He's got to keep trying and doing it. I mean, it's going to happen every once in a while. Sanson and Cuatrero were really quick at covering for him, but you heard a lot of people kind of like doing the whole guy could have got hurt and they're kind of like whistling and shitting on the poor guy. Stuka Jr. beat Bobby Villa in a match Relampago. I think it was funny. I think I was asked about. I think I wrote about this match and I thought I even mentioned it was good or something, and I was like, oh, I didn't even watch this match because Claro Sports their feed died on us, so all we came back to was the finish where Stuka Jr. did a Cazadora bomb off the top rope, and he landed his rear end landed on Bobby Villa's head. So poor Bobby Villa kind of like got shook up with that. They placed a neck brace and stretchered Bobby Villa out. I think he was okay afterwards. I think he wrestled a couple days later. Atlantis, Volador Jr. and Marco Corleone beat Sam Adonis, Negro Casas, and Felino. Marco Corleone and Sam Adonis seemed to be feuding. I didn't really think there was that much from Volador Jr. or Atlantis. Mostly Marco working with Adonis, and actually Marco doing more with Negro Casas and Felino, which is always fun. I think Zacharias even got involved in there a bit. Okay match. The fifth match was actually pretty good. Los Guerreros Laguneros, Ultimo Guerrero, Euforia, and Niebla Roja beat Mystico and Dragon Lee and Valiente. Good match. They keep coming up with these weird combinations of Sky Team and Dragon Lee and Caristico. I think they're trying to find the mix that'll, whether or not to break up the Sky Team, whether or not they're just going to have that 5-man unit, like just switch back and forth, which is it's CMLL, so that's going to happen. Caristico, the main event, Caristico, Maximo Sexy, and Diamante Azul beat Los Ingobernables via DQ. 2 straight falls. The Ingobernables just destroyed Diamante Azul at the end. Really not much to the match. Then there was a lot of matches I watched. This show was good. Was good. Really, I mean, if I had to say, if you want to watch something from that show, watch the semi-main event and the second match. The other matches, they're okay, but I don't think you have to worry about watching them. Other matches I watched recently, Ares versus Belial versus Impulso in the mask versus hair match from February 26th. All these matches are available on YouTube, I think. Yeah, they're all on YouTube, so you could definitely find them. I'll probably post links to all of them. That match was from the WMC show from Arena San Juan. This was a bloodbath. I actually thought they probably bled a little too early. Belial, I thought, was perfectly fine bleeding early, considering he was going to be the one that ended up towards the end. But I thought Impulso bled early, and then Ares, I think they kind of like pasted a little better, where maybe they had Ares bleed a little closer towards the end, or maybe not. One of those guys probably didn't have to bleed, because I think when they all bled so early, the crowd kind of like didn't react to anything towards the end, because they were pretty much just shocked that these guys were bleeding all early in the match. So the crowd didn't seem that into it, but it was a good match. I thought Ares did a great job towards the end, where he was kind of like suckering in Belial into believing that he had hurt his knee, and then he tried to steal a win, but Belial was able to kick out and ended up winning. Really good match. The other really good match from that weekend was from the February 25th, the Crash show, Flamita versus Septimo Dragon. I actually like this match more than that other match. It's more my taste in matches. And plus Flamita and Septimo Dragon are really good. I think Septimo Dragon is somebody people should keep an eye out on. He looked really good in this match. Flamita, when he's booked properly, he's a top 10 luchador in Mexico, a top guy around the world. He's in Dragon Gate right now, so I don't know. I think he's somebody that promotions like AAA and CMLL really dropped the ball on. CMLL could have had him, didn't bring him in because he was so small. That's something that Demos 316 was talking about, and I think this is what hurt Flamita at the time when he was trying to get into CMLL. I think he tried twice and couldn't get in either time because there was issues. Volador Jr. mentioned that this was one of the reasons that Flamita, basically Demos 316 was talking about how at one point CMLL wasn't as interested in smaller luchadors to enter the regular size or standard division, male division. So they weren't as keen to guys who were like smaller, like in the 5'3", 5'5" range. So those guys weren't getting at it. He brought up how guys like Dragon Lee, Stigma, Disturbio, they've kind of changed CML's perception of those guys. And now the guys who are kind of having issues now are the minis division, because now the minis division, a lot of the minis aren't really your typical minis from the past that were like short, really small guys. Minis like I think right now the only guy who really does fit that minis category is Shockercito, and I think Pequeño Universo, who sucks really. But I mean, those are really the two guys who are really small. I think there's maybe one or two other guys that are in that range, but everybody else is Perotito's really short too, but everybody else is a lot taller. So Stuquita can work with like Volador Jr., and I don't think people would really, or with Mystico and Dragon Lee, and I don't think anybody would notice that big of a difference. Or Valiente, I think Stuquita might be taller than Valiente. So there's a change in that, but I think that kind of Flamita's kind of like still viewed as, I think it would require, like with CML, it always requires you have to be either a family member of someone already in the promotion, or you have to be really close to like Ultimo Guerrero or one of those guys who has a little more stroke in the promotion. And in AAA, AAA is just a mess. So it's really, I think I think that's one of those things where I don't think anybody really wants to. I think if there's an option to not go to AAA, I think guys are really picking that other option. I think even the guys who went to La Llave a la Gloria, Iron Kid even mentioned that he had people tell him not to go to that thing. And he kind of mentioned that the only reason he kind of wanted to go was that he kind of felt he missed out the previous opportunity to be in the other competition that AAA had ran, La Quien Pinta La Corona contest. He wanted to be in that, and he missed that opportunity, and he just felt he couldn't pass up this opportunity this time around. Another match that I watched that was really great, a tag match, Rey Escorpión and LA Park versus Penta, El Cero M, and Daga from Arena Lopez Mateos on March 1st. That you can find on Mas Lucha's YouTube channel. Great match. Daga kind of looked like he was a little bit out of it, but he really, I think he brought energy to that match. I think it's more, Daga is better suited at strong style. I think Daga would look so great working with like guys like Dragon Lee and the Noah guys, a Negro Casas match, Ronnie Mendoza, guys like that. This more of a crazy brawl. I mean, I think it kind of, and this match really, what makes this match so interesting is that the very first fall is just Rey Escorpión and LA Park beating down Penta, Cero M, and Daga, where they just used the chairs, they threw beer at them, they just were, LA Park used his belt on them, just an absolute beatdown. And then as that fall ended, the second fall, Penta, Zero M, and Daga got a little more involved. They did a couple of they actually took advantage. It's still a crazy brawl. At one point, Rey Escorpión, Penta, Zero M, and Rey Escorpión are brawling, and Penta grabs a drink from a beer from a fan, and he starts drinking it. And Rey Escorpión is right next to him. He grabs the beer and just tosses it at Penta Zero M. They just kept doing some really interesting. They just brawled throughout the crowd for much of the match. The match itself, towards the end, really, I think the finish is like your typical LA Park finish, where they have to end like with a screw job. So it ended up before that. LA Park, the ref got taken out, and the ref was laying down on the floor. And LA Park kept kicking him and punching him and stuff like that. So then, when they got back to the match and everybody's getting ready to end, as the match is coming to an end, the ref comes back in. But what had happened was I think everybody fouled each other, and the ref decided that because everybody fouled each other, he looks around like shocked, confused, trying to figure out who to give the win to, and he gives it to LA Park and Rey Escorpión, the guy who was beating the crap out of him on the floor just a couple minutes earlier. So it's like, I thought that finish was really stupid. But the entire match, I mean, if you go prior to that, it was great. What I thought was even better than that was Rush versus LA Park from Barakat Entertainment, their March 11th show. This was amazing. I think this was posted right, I think the weekend, and I had just watched Impact. And I gotta say, that Impact show from last week was so bad. This was the show where Alberto debuted for Impact, and they brought in Bruce Pritchard and Dutch Mantel, and they did the whole squabbling announcers gimmick throughout the 2 hours, ruining that show. I mean, I don't think you could actually say that was anything good. I had Dave Meltzer mentioned it, and Court Bauer told me that the reason that the announcer thing was going on was because they were trying to phase out Josh Matthews. And to them, I say, who gives a fuck about Josh Matthews being moved out of the announcing table for Jeremy Borash? I mean, who cares? This is stupid. It's the announcers. I mean, it doesn't matter. One little 5-minute segment. That's all you need. You don't need these guys on for 2 hours ignoring everything that's going on in the ring. I mean, talking about how the WWE and everybody was bringing up the WWE. Josh Matthews talking about, oh, I was great. I got to announce that at WrestleMania, making Impact look even stupider. I mean, I have no idea why either Court or Dave thought that was a great idea or anything. I think Dave Meltzer said that after that one segment ended, he felt that the rest of it was was too much. I mean, it took away from the rest of the show. The show was horrible. Other than the Hardys segments that I mentioned earlier that they did, I thought that the rest of it was awful. It was so bad, I kind of thought, man, you know what? I'm going to quit doing everything about wrestling. I wanted to give it up. I didn't want to do anything. I was going to quit doing it. I think I stopped. I didn't even do this podcast just because I thought that show was so awful. But then I watched Rush versus LA Park, and I think that pretty much made me realize I shouldn't watch Impact and just enjoy all the quality lucha libre that Mas Lucha and Video Nemesis and all these other people that are kind enough to post, the Cubs fan, all these people that post all this great stuff, all this great content on online, on YouTube. I can enjoy that stuff. I could go to lucha shows. I don't have to worry about Impact. I'll watch it once whenever they do another change, because they're going to have another problem 5 years, 2, 3, 5 years down the road. They're going to make another change. Something bad is going to happen. And I'll watch it again because I'm stupid. I'm a stupid wrestling fan. All of us wrestling fans are suckers. We end up going back and watching it, and then we realize how stupid we were to give it a second chance. But like I said, as long as there is somebody as long as there's somebody who promotes good wrestling and there's somebody who will film that one match that I will enjoy, I'll continue watching. And Rush versus LA Park, I think it brought happiness to me. Rush versus LA Park was fantastic. Highly recommended. Wild brawl, as you'd expect. I think that was the one difference. when you watch Ali Park versus Penta Zero M or Daga, I think it kind of was him taking more of. And plus, the dude is huge. I mean, if you look at, I mean, the dude looks like he's like 300 pounds right now. Ali Park looks huge. I don't know if it's because he's on in HD or not. He's a big dude now. But when he wrestled Penta Zero M and Daga, he kind of like took more advantage against that. He had the edge over those guys. Like it was them kind of coming to the independents to like to challenge him. Whereas Rush versus Ali Park was a lot more even, and these guys just beat the crap out of each other. They bled. Ali Park at one point disappears into the crowd, comes back with a box with a ton of beer bottles and just throws it at Rush. This is not a match that if you're into, like, if you're going to be squeamish of blood and chair shots and shots to the head and stuff like that, or like belt shots, this is not a match for you, but this was fantastic. Just a wild brawl. The finish, as usual, interference from La Mascara. Hijo de Ali Park got involved. You know, typical interference from typical Ali Park finish. They did throw Ali Park demanded a mask versus hair match with Rush. I think Rush might have accepted, but you know how that goes with those guys. They accept, but it never happens. Ali Park did mention that he didn't want that he wanted to have the match somewhere else and not in CMLL, because in CMLL they have so many rules that he can't conform to those rules. And he said he's already attempted to conform to them, but he respects them for having rules and all that, but he just can't conform to them. So he would like to have the mask versus hair match somewhere else. Mas Lucha mentioned that after the show, the promoter for Baracal Entertainment asked if where the contracts were that he wanted to deal. He wanted to put together this mask match. I doubt it's going to happen. But you know, as long as they give us Rush versus Ali Park every so often, I'm happy. Highly recommend it. Definitely, you guys should watch that. The final match that I wanted to mention was the Rey Cometa versus Barbaro Cavernario match from this past Tuesday for the Mexican National Welterweight title. I think everybody kind of thought Rey Cometa was going to lose, because if CMLL doesn't remember you holding that title, and this is your first title defense against a guy who's been red hot in the last several, like since last September, in Barbaro Cavernario, you assume he's going to take the match, win the title, and you know, you move on from that. Well, no, Rey Cometa ended up stunning upset, retaining the title in a really good match. Not as great as the matches from last March or the previous matches. From last I think it was June, July, so around that area, that time period. I think they had two matches, one in June and one in July. So and then they had another one previously. So they've had a few matches that I didn't think this was at that level, but still really good. I think anytime you put Rey Cometa versus Barbaro Cavernario, it guarantees you're going to have a good match. I keep wondering when I'm going to ask Negro Casas when I see him to do me a favor and ask for a title match against Rey Cometa, because I am dying to watch Rey Cometa versus Negro Casas. It could be on a Tuesday show, it could be on a Friday show, or it could be on a Monday show. I'm sure a boring Puebla show, they'll find a way to make that entertaining. Even like if it's a 15-minute match, I'm okay with it. But I want that to happen, and I will ask Negro Casas if he could do that. I'm sure he might. I'm sure he's going to tell me he can't, or he'll see what he could do. But you know, as long as he says maybe I'm going to start, and if he doesn't give me the answer I want, I'll ask again on Informa, where I think Negro Casas would know right away that it was me asking. I'll bug him about it nonstop until it finally happens. But yeah, those are some matches I recommend watching. And now Kurt is going to talk. Kurt has is going to join in and talk about the Torneo Increibles final that he enjoyed. And he's going to talk about our upcoming trips to Lucha shows.
And let's talk about the finals.
I actually talked about it the previous podcast, but you wanted it.
I just had to talk about this.
and I said, okay, Kurt, go ahead.
The finals of Torneo Increibles is one of the best matches I've seen in a long, long time.
That was the best match from this year so far for CMLL, really.
Yes. And I have to say, I have seen some Japan, when people...
Oh, yeah, you watched the Okada Omega match,
yes,
right?
Yes, and while that match was just mind-blowing with the length they went and the technical moves, and yes, it told a story, but it was a long, long match, and how do I say... Cavernario and Volador Jr. versus Valiente and Ultimo Guerrero, I have watched 3 times.
Wow.
That's how much I loved it. And I would choose it over one of the Japan matches every day. One, let's just say it, I'm biased.
Yeah, you like the style.
I like the style. The passion involved in this match. Quite the passing of the torch in this match, too. I remember I saw you and several other people tweeting about it the night before. And on most Friday night shows when I see people raving about something, I watch it maybe 4 or 5 days later. I watched this one the very next day, and I've watched it twice since. And this is the most fun I've had watching a wrestling match in a long, long time.
Yeah.
For me, the Torneo Increibles are hit and miss personally.
Yeah, the first couple of rounds is just boring. The whole getting to that match was boring.
The final match was amazing. I love how Cavernario and Volador it turned into babyface versus heel. I love how it started off with Cavernario and Ultimo Guerrero going with some clean hold for hold. And you get to see Cavernario do a little more scientific moves than... I mean, he does them, but in this match, he showed a lot more of his babyface side, and it is very appealing, I gotta say. He's a good... And, so Cavernario and Guerrero, they start off, do a little hold for hold, totally clean. Then, when Volador and Valiente get tagged, I love how Valiente just jumps in the ring, and before he even touches Volador, he goes into heel mode all the way. He looked like he's wanted to be a Rudo forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it immediately goes into, that's when the fight starts, when they actually start, laying into each other. And when I say passing of the torch, I love how Volador does his over-the-rope tope onto Ultimo Guerrero, only to have Ultimo catch him and powerbomb him. That looks sweet. And the passing of the torch is because Valiente puts away Cavernario clean. And right after that, submits Volador Jr. And a few years ago, you and I have always dug Valiente.
Yeah.
We love how it looks like he does those flying moves effortlessly. And at the same time, I always kind of understood why he was never pushed to the top. There was just something there. Ever since he's changed his look, and ever since seeing him in this match, this guy should be on top.
Yeah, he's really good.
This guy's like a badass super asterisk.
I think the problem with him is that he's been around for so long that I think it kind of made it harder for him to be more. I think people kind of got, they got tired of him never getting that push.
Yeah.
So then they've moved on to other people.
Well, so I hope they keep, because he really is a different wrestler.
It's not that they're not fans of him, the fans themselves. It's that now you have they've moved on to Titan and all these other guys. And Valiente, I think a lot of the fans who don't like him, it's because of the bodybuilding thing, the outfits and stuff like that.
You know what? I gotta plead guilty if it's.
But Kurt's a bodybuilding fan. I think. Let's just admit it.
Steroids is something that's
Kurt accepts steroids. He's moved on.
That's right. I don't give a rat's ass if you're on the juice or not. I don't give a rat's ass. But I have to say, this whole new look has given this whole new persona. I got to be honest. After this match, I think they should fucking turn him heel. I think Mystico was a great heel, and he or I should say, Caristico.
Yeah.
This guy outdoes Caristico as.
I don't know. I think Caristico is a far better heel than Valiente could be.
If he would be heel.
Yeah, if he would, because Valiente hasn't been a heel, so.
But I thought he did such a great, so the second fall, I love how the Rudos are just, it's a quick, and I didn't even mind the standard formula where the first fall was quick, the second fall was quick, but I just love the sweet transition of the Rudos bullying the Technicos, and it wasn't just this time-killing bullying that you see 2-on-1 usually, or 3-on-1 in 6-man matches. It was a sweet comeback, and it almost looked bad when Cavernario did that drop kick off the top rope, because the actual feet didn't connect with the head, but he landed right on top of Valiente, so it still looked like he nailed him, just not in the way intended. And Volador did his patented backbreaker. What is that called?
Backcracker?
Backcracker?
Yeah, the one to the back where he...
Yeah, is it like Rodea or something?
Yeah. People are like, Kurt doesn't know what a backcracker is?
But I'm sure there's a name in Spanish for it.
Backcracker.
Backcracker, okay.
Yes, backcracker in Spanish.
The cracker of the back.
It's backcracker.
Backcracker, okay. So, third fall... Love seeing the double top rope toe base by Cavernario and Volador again. A very baby-face thing. I really dug seeing Cavernario. He's one of those guys, he is a Rudo, how much can you hate a guy like that? Of course, in this day and age, Rudos are loved just as much as Technicos.
Yeah.
It's a different
What'd you think
game.
of Volador Jr.'s glasses before that?
His glasses?
His sunglasses.
I didn't see the sunglasses.
You didn't see them?
Let's see. Oh!
You didn't see the promo, right?
Of course I didn't see the promo.
Yeah.
I went straight to the match. And that sweet over-the-top rope arm drag that Guerrero did on Volador just looked great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that a lot of times sounds good in theory and just looks clunky. This looks smooth. And Did you
see this chick on the show?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes. Oh, there was another moment that I didn't notice until the third time. In fact, this is the part I'm just getting to now. When Cavernario did his patented body press tope, and right after that, Volador did the dive onto Valiente in the crowd.
Yeah.
I didn't notice until that third fall when Valiente and Volador are getting up, like shaking the cobwebs from their head. Volador hands a fan their cell phone. I guess somebody dropped their cell phone during the tope, and even though Valiente was like all stunned, he still had the courtesy to give the fan back their phone. And once again, passing the torch because. Also, I loved Ultimo Guerrero's moves where he did these topes almost like a hip bump, or like Boogaloo Tom Shaft or somebody like that.
Volador Jr. takes some crazy bumps in wrestling. Like
he does.
He's one of like that the salida de bandera that he does. Where they flip over the top rope.
Oh yeah,
like Jerry Estrada used to do.
Yes,
his is like so. His only difference, like Rey Escorpión and Jerry Estrada, when they do it, and Eddie Guerrero used to do it. They used to stay longer, higher up.
Yes. And
then they would fall. Whereas Volador Jr. just flips over like really fast, where it looks like he's just gonna he could just die. And
I've got to admit, I get a little nervous when I see that.
He did that at that one show we went to. Remember?
Yes,
because I know Rob saw that afterwards, video of that, and he was like, "How did he survive that?" I was like, "He was fine." And he talked to us afterwards.
I mean, maybe he's just
really talented.
Yeah.
really good.
Well, kind of how Conan once referred to Jack Evans as Gumby because he keeps crashing, but he keeps getting up.
Well, he did break down, though.
He did eventually, yeah.
No, right now he broke his ankle.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Wait. I was thinking...
Jack Evans?
Jack Evans.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't know this. You're not up to date.
I was thinking of his partner who got hurt.
Teddy Hart?
Not Teddy Hart.
Angelico?
Angelico.
Yeah, that guy gets hurt all the time, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was impressed.
He's the opposite of whatever Atlantis was.
Absolutely, yes. But Jack Evans' tracker was pretty good for him. These crazy moves that should have hurt him. Yeah.
And it's an ankle. It's not even what you would expect. An ankle,
exactly. I'm better an ankle than a neck or a back or a...
Yeah.
That also, I just loved that superplex that Ultimo Guerrero...
Yeah, the deadlift superplex.
Yes, that was amazing. I mean, I could see he put his one hand on the turnbuckle for support, but still...
Yes, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But you're doing that with Volador Jr.
You're doing it with Volador, who could probably make anybody look like a genius.
You know, it's weird because a lot of people criticize Volador Jr. for using the same formula in his matches, which he does, but I mean, I don't think there's a guy who can make a guy look like... You would have to be really bad to have a bad match with Volador
Absolutely,
Jr.
I agree.
Because I think he's like one of the guys who knows how to just for you to lift them. He's probably like one of the easier guys to lift and stuff like that. Whereas other guys, it looks like they're just like... You kind of wonder what the fuck's going on in the match.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that spot right there was just amazing.
Oh, I remember when I was trained by Mickey Doyle like 30-something years ago, I weighed maybe 160 pounds. He probably weighed 240 pounds. And
there's no way you weighed 160 pounds, Kurt.
160 pounds, yeah. I'd like to weigh 160 pounds again, believe me. I can't get below this 180.
No, I'm saying you looked a lot smaller back then.
I was pretty small, but around this time, this was when I was actually getting some work, and so I was trying to be as big as I could. But he knew how to go up for moves where I was actually able to pick him up for body slams and shit. I mean, we didn't actually have matches, but he was training me, and I'm like... and then I'd do that with other guys, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So there's guys like Volador.
And I think that's something that a lot of the fans don't realize. Like, when they complain about a guy, they don't really think, hey, how is this guy able to lift? Why is this guy looking good? Well, because the other guy is actually helping him out. It's not just the American wrestler or the Japanese wrestler who's having an amazing match. The luchadors know how to do some stuff.
They do. I mean, there's some who are artists.
Yeah, Volador Jr. knows how to wrestle.
He is amazing. Yeah. And, I know I've said this before, but when he lost his mask, I think that was a big turning point in his career. Yeah. He was always great, but man...
Sure, besides you killing him, calling him Chris Kattan.
As Dr. Jerry Graham would say, that's no derogatory statement. Yeah. But no, he is so expressive, and he's just a great baby face.
Plus, I like how I mentioned he has a smug look to him, because he's kind of always like grinning. He's always like grinning.
Yes, exactly.
Because they had the parrot. He had the parrot ringside. Remember, the parrot was with Volador Jr. and Carbonario.
Yes, I love that.
And he's even looking at the parrot and like doing like fist bumps with him.
And at one point, I remember Carbonario even back up on the apron.
I still think the best thing from that Carbonario's the En Busca de un Ídolo was when he won En Busca de un Ídolo, or a trios match. I think he might have just won it was the trios match involved with those guys in that match.
Yes.
He grabbed Zacarias El Perico and just threw him up in the air. Like, yay!
I love it. And again, the passing of the torch, because Volador pins Valiente or defeats him. I can't remember if he pinned him or submitted him. Then Ultimo Guerrero takes out Volador, and then Cavernario takes out Ultimo Guerrero to win the tournament with the Cavernaria. And it's like these guys who should be pushed to the moon might be pushed to the moon now. They better be. They
kind of are. I mean, Volador and Ultimo Guerrero are like...
I'm talking about...
Valiente and
Cavernario.
Well, Valiente's been in main events like nonstop. People have complained.
Good, finally. Yes. It's about... time.
Yeah, I think it
is about time.
I always laugh when people are like talking about these guys should be pushed more, and it's like these guys are perfectly fine. It's the other like there's about 50 other guys.
Oh yeah. But I do think
Puma, Tiger.
I mean, comparatively though, Valiente's push.
Yeah, he's always been the more. Yeah, now it's been.
Yeah, and I'm just happy. And then I loved because I didn't understand it at first. The first thing I see is they win, and you see Cavernario going up the aisle.
Yeah.
I went, why is he leaving? And no, he's going to his mom and dad.
Yeah,
and
they flew in from Guadalajara.
Did they really?
From Guadalajara to see this match.
Oh, I love that moment. That was wonderful.
And then you see, like, he goes over there, and you see Volador Jr. holding the trophy. He's got the other one, and he gives the other trophy to the parrot. Yes. So Zacarias Perico gets a couple of shots with him holding the trophy.
In fact, I wish I knew. I couldn't. I wish I knew what the parrot was saying because they do like they have Julio Cesar I love
Rivera.
the sound bites.
Yeah. Do you know that? You know he's coming on March 26th to Oxnard.
No way.
Yeah, the parrot.
Oh,
it's going to be the parrot, Nero Casas, and Felino.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, that's a road trip, dude.
I think it's a road trip. I think we're there.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay, let me know. Because I really do. No. I think that's like
I want to see this.
That's the bucket list.
Be there.
I like how I mentioned this on this show. If this show gets posted afterwards, we apologize. But, you know, we're I don't think I'll probably be posting this before that. Because it's, what? This week is, Classica this week. Next week will be LuchaWorld Podcast. Yeah, so it'll be fine.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. So yeah.
So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in about just how amazing this match was, how much I enjoyed watching it, and just this is wrestling done correctly. This is when they do things right.
Yeah. So then, our schedule March 19th. That's a definite.
Yes, that is definite.
Trauma.
Los Traumas and Dr. Cerebro.
Well, it's just Trauma 2, and I don't know if it's both. I think it's Trauma 2 and Dr. Cerebro.
Oh, okay.
But there's a new Matematico.
I saw that. Do you know the story behind that?
No, but he looks familiar, though. I'm kind of wondering if it's one of the locals.
That's what I was wondering, because remember there was some local guy calling himself Super Muñeco for...
No, I don't know about that, but
recently
I mean...
there was.
Matematico traveled here, remember?
Yeah, I remember
that show we went
2
to.
years ago.
So I'm kind of wondering, maybe he handed down the mask to somebody else.
Possibly.
Because the eyes kind of look familiar to me.
I wonder who it could be.
I think it might be somebody we know, and that might be good. Like, if we could get backstage access, I'll be like, oh yes, I know who that is. Like, you could tell from just them wrestling who it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
and Cholo will be there.
And no matter who's under the mask, Matematico pictures are good photo ops.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest masks ever.
Yes.
So, yeah, we look forward to that show.
Maybe the Oxnard show.
Maybe, and I'm hoping. I know I'm doing something on the 25th, but I think the 26th might be free. So.
Negro Casas. And it's at a restaurant, too.
Even better. Hey.
Hang out with Negro Casas.
Dinner with the stars.
I'll contact... you know what I'll do? It like, if you say yes, I'll contact Negro Casas.
Yeah, that'd be great.
His wife or his kid.
That'd be cool. Oh, my God.
And we'll try to get Negro Casas and Felino interviewed. And we'll have Felino, like... we'll have a photo op of you, like, smelling Felino's armpit.
Awesome.
That would be awesome. Like that would be like that would fill out my entire year of like interviews, like right there.
That would right there. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Okay, thanks again for listening to the podcast. We will hopefully have another podcast after Dos Leyendas. I'm not sure when we'll be doing the next LuchaWorld podcast or the Lucha Classica because, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to try to get interviews with we're going to be attending a couple of shows, and we're going to try to get interviews with a couple of luchadors. And I think I'm not sure how busy I'm going to be. Not just with those 2 weekends, but also translating the interviews and whatever else I end up doing. So thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye.